I am 26 years old, and people think I stopped caring about my family a long time ago. The truth is different. I only learned how to hide the pain. Smiling became easier than explaining why my own mother no longer felt like my mother. When I was 8, my father died in a car accident. I don't remember every detail, but I remember my mother's tears. For years, it was just the two of us. We lived in a small apartment, shared simple meals, and laughed over old movies. She used to hold my hand and whisper, "No matter what happens, we'll always have each other." I believed her. Everything changed when she met Richard. "This is Richard," she said one evening with a nervous smile. "He's my friend." Richard shook my hand. "Nice to meet you, kid." I forced a smile. "Nice to meet you too." A few months later, they got married. Richard moved us into a larger house where his children, Jason and Lily, already lived. Everyone said we looked like one happy family. We weren't. Jason looked at me on my first day there and laughed. "So you're the extra kid?" Lily shrugged. "Don't touch my stuff." I looked at my mother, waiting for her to say something. Instead, she smiled awkwardly. "Give them time." Time never fixed anything. At dinner, Jason always got the biggest piece of chicken. Lily picked the movie every weekend. Richard made every important decision. Whenever I tried to speak, someone interrupted me. One afternoon I said, "Mom, can we spend some time together? Just us." She didn't even look up from washing dishes. "I'm busy today." "You've been busy every day." Richard walked into the kitchen. "Your mother has responsibilities now," he said. "Stop acting like a little child." I wanted to argue, but my mother stayed silent. That silence hurt more than his words. The years passed, and I slowly became invisible inside my own home. If Jason broke something, somehow it became my fault. If Lily complained, I had to apologize. Every time I defended myself, Richard sighed. "You always create problems." One evening I couldn't take it anymore. "I didn't do anything," I shouted. Jason crossed his arms. "See? He's starting another fight." Lily nodded. "He's impossible to live with." I looked at my mother. "Mom, please." She closed her eyes for a second before speaking. "I think everyone needs peace." "I need you," I whispered. "You should move out." I stared at her, unable to breathe. "What?" "It would be better for everyone." "For everyone?" I asked. "Or just for them?" Tears filled my eyes. "You promised we'd always have each other." She looked away. "I'm sorry." Those two words sounded empty. I packed one suitcase that night. Every shirt, every book, every memory had to fit inside it. When I reached the front door, I turned around one last time. "Are you really letting me leave?" Nobody answered. Richard looked relieved. Jason smirked. Lily kept staring at her phone. Only my mother looked like she wanted to cry, but she never stopped me. I walked outside carrying everything I owned. As I reached the end of the street, I kept checking my phone. I thought she would call. I thought she would run after me. I thought she would choose me. The phone never rang. That night, I realized something I had refused to believe for years. My mother hadn't lost me. She had replaced me. And I was completely alone. The first night alone was the hardest. I sat on a worn-out mattress in a tiny rented room and stared at my phone. "Call me," I whispered. "Please, Mom, just call me." The screen stayed dark. By morning, I understood something painful. She wasn't coming. For the next few months, survival became my only goal. I worked wherever I could. In the morning, I stocked shelves at a grocery store. At night, I washed dishes in a small restaurant. One evening my manager frowned. "You've been here since 6 this morning." "I need the extra hours." "When was the last time you slept?" I forced a smile. "I'll sleep when I can afford to." He shook his head. "You're too young to look this tired." I laughed quietly. I felt old for years. Every payday disappeared almost immediately. Rent, food, electricity, and bus fare took everything. Some weeks I survived on instant noodles because they were cheap. Still, I kept going. On my 27th birthday, I bought myself a small cupcake from a bakery. The cashier smiled. "Birthday?" "Yeah." "Celebrating with family?" I looked away. "Just me." She handed me an extra candle. "It's free. Happy birthday." I thanked her, but the walk home felt heavier than usual. That night I lit the candle and whispered, "Happy birthday." There was nobody else to hear it. Days turned into months. Months turned into years. My phone never rang. One afternoon, as I struggled to carry groceries upstairs, an elderly man opened his apartment door. "You look like you're carrying the whole building." I laughed. "It feels that way." He smiled warmly. "I'm Raymond. Your neighbor." "I'm Ethan. You look hungry." "I'll eat later." "Nonsense," he said. "Come inside." I hesitated. "I don't want to bother you." The lonely should help the lonely. Something about those words made me follow him. His apartment smelled like fresh soup. "Sit down," he said. "I can pay you." He laughed loudly. If I wanted money, I'd open a restaurant. For the first time in years, I shared a meal with someone who actually wanted me there. Before I left, he pointed at me. "You've got sad eyes, son." "I've had practice." "Whatever happened before today, don't let it decide who you'll become tomorrow." His words stayed with me long after I returned home. A few weeks later, another person quietly entered my life. At the grocery store, a cheerful woman noticed me eating lunch alone. "Mind if I sit here?" "Go ahead." "I'm Emma." "Ethan." She looked at my sandwich. "That's lunch?" "It fills my stomach." "Barely." The next day she placed another sandwich beside mine. "I made too much." "You didn't have to." "I know. I can't keep taking food." She smiled. "Then buy me coffee someday." It became our routine. She talked. I listened. Slowly, I started talking too. One afternoon she asked softly, "Do you ever see your family?" I stayed silent. She noticed. "You don't have to answer. They stopped choosing me a long time ago." She nodded without asking for details. Instead, she said, "Family isn't always the people you're born with." I looked at her. "What if you never find another one?" "You already started." "What do you mean?" She smiled. "You've got an old neighbor who worries about you." She pointed at herself. "And you've got one annoying coworker who refuses to let you eat terrible sandwiches forever." I laughed. "I guess you're right." "See? You're smiling." It surprised me because she was right. For the first time in years, smiling didn't feel fake. Life slowly became different. I saved enough money to rent a better apartment. Then I learned new skills after work. Eventually, I opened a small repair business. The first customer shook my hand. "I've heard you're honest." I tried to be. Business wasn't easy, but it grew little by little. Every success reminded me that I had built something with my own hands. Nobody had given it to me. Late one evening, Mr. Raymond sat beside me outside the building. "You still waiting for someone to come back?" I thought for a long moment. "No." "And how does that feel?" "It still hurts." "It always will." I looked at the stars. "But I'm done waiting." He smiled proudly. "Good." I believed my past was finally behind me. I didn't know that somewhere across town, the perfect family my mother had chosen was already beginning to fall apart. And soon, their broken lives would find their way back to mine. Rain hammered against my apartment window as I locked the door after another long day at work. I dropped my keys onto the table and made myself a cup of coffee. My phone suddenly rang. Unknown number. I stared at the screen. "Probably another salesperson," I muttered. I let it ring. Then it rang again. I sighed and answered. "Hello?" For a few seconds, nobody spoke. Then I heard a shaky voice. "Ethan?" My heart froze. I knew that voice. "Mom?" She took a deep breath. "Thank you for answering. What do you want?" I need to see you." I laughed bitterly. "You've had years to see me." "I know." "No, you don't know." "I do. You never called." "I'm sorry." "You never visited." "I'm sorry." "You let me walk away." Silence filled the line. Finally, she whispered, "You're right." I rubbed my forehead. "So why now?" "I can't explain it over the phone." "Try." "I need you to come." "I don't owe you anything." "I know." "Then stop asking." Before I could hang up, she spoke again. "Please." That single word sounded different. Not demanding. Not proud. Broken. I closed my eyes. "Where are you?" She gave me the address. "I'll think about it." "Ethan." "What?" "Thank you." I ended the call without replying. For the next hour, I walked around my apartment. Mr. Raymond's words echoed inside my head. Don't let your past decide your future. Emma's voice followed. Sometimes answers are worth hearing, even if they hurt. I grabbed my car keys. I'm just going to listen, I told myself. Nothing more. The house looked older than I remembered. The garden was overgrown. The paint was peeling. This wasn't the perfect home I had left years ago. I knocked. The door opened slowly. For a moment, I didn't recognize the woman standing there. Her hair had turned gray. Dark circles surrounded her tired eyes. She looked smaller somehow. Ethan. Mom. She smiled weakly. You came. I almost didn't. She stepped aside. Please, come in. The house felt strangely quiet. No Jason? I asked. She looked down. He moved out. Lily? She doesn't visit anymore. And Richard? She sat on the sofa before answering. I don't know where he is. I frowned. What does that mean? He left. I stared at her. He left you? She nodded. A few months ago. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The perfect family? It wasn't perfect. It looked perfect when you threw me away. Tears filled her eyes. I deserve that. I stayed standing. You said you needed me. Why? She reached for a pile of papers on the table. These. I looked down. Bank notices. Final warnings. Debt letters. What is all this? Richard borrowed money. How much? More than I knew. And you signed the papers. I trusted him. I laughed without humor. You trusted him. She lowered her head. Yes. The same way I trusted you. She couldn't answer. After a long silence, she whispered, I failed you. I looked around the room. Everything valuable was gone. The expensive television had disappeared. The paintings were missing. Even the furniture looked old. What happened to Jason? He said he couldn't help. And Lily? She blamed me for everything. I shook my head. So they both walked away. She nodded slowly. They chose themselves. The irony hit both of us at the same time. Years ago, she had chosen them. Now they had abandoned her. She wiped away a tear. I finally know how it feels. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to feel satisfied. Instead, I felt empty. She looked at me carefully. I don't expect forgiveness. Good. I only wanted you to know the truth. What truth? I made the biggest mistake of my life. I crossed my arms. That doesn't erase what happened. I know. You missed birthdays. I know. You missed every important moment. I know. You stopped being my mother. She covered her face and cried quietly. I'm so sorry. Her tears should have made me feel victorious. They didn't. They only reminded me of the woman who used to hold my hand after my father died. For a second, I saw that mother again. Then the memory disappeared. I walked toward the door. Ethan, she called softly. I stopped but didn't turn around. Will you come back? I don't know. I'll wait. I opened the door. The rain had stopped. As I stepped outside, I realized something had changed. I had spent years believing I wanted revenge. But standing in that broken house, looking at the woman who had once broken me, revenge didn't feel as satisfying as I had imagined. I drove home with more questions than answers, wondering whether that phone call had reopened an old wound. Or started the first step toward healing. I didn't sleep that night. My mother's face stayed in my mind. She looked nothing like the strong woman I remembered. She looked broken. The next morning, my phone buzzed. It was a text from her. Please. There are things you don't know. Just one more meeting. I stared at the message for a long time before replying. 1 hour. That's all. When I arrived, she was already waiting with 2 cups of coffee. I wasn't sure you'd come, she said. I almost didn't. She nodded. I understand. I sat across from her. You said there were things I didn't know. There are. Then tell me. She took a deep breath. After your father died, I was terrified. I was terrified too. I know. But I thought I had to stay strong for you. You were. For a while. She looked at her hands. The bills kept coming. I was working 2 jobs. I barely slept. You never told me. I didn't want you to worry. I stayed quiet. Then I met Richard, she continued. He seemed kind. He promised he would take care of us. So you married him? Yes. Was that the mistake? No. She shook her head. The mistake was letting him control our lives. I frowned. What do you mean? At first, he was wonderful. What changed? He started saying little things. Like what? She swallowed hard. He told me you were angry all the time. I wasn't. I know that now. He said you hated him. I barely knew him. He said you refused to accept our family. I laughed bitterly. I was the one trying. Tears filled her eyes. I see that now. I leaned back. So every time he blamed me, I believed him. Why? Because he repeated it every day. I looked away, trying to control my anger. She whispered, I'm sorry. I didn't answer. She continued. Jason made everything worse. My eyes narrowed. What did he do? He lied constantly. Lied about what? He would break things, then tell Richard you did it. I remembered those days. I kept telling you it wasn't me. I know. You never believed me. She lowered her head. I didn't. A painful silence filled the room. Then she spoke again. Lily wasn't innocent either. I looked at her. What did she do? Whenever I spent time with you, she complained. His taking you away from us, she would say. I closed my eyes. I remember. I thought she was just scared. But she wasn't. No. She wiped another tear away. She knew exactly what she was doing. I let out a slow breath. So all those years, you were fighting a battle you could never win. My chest tightened. I kept wondering what I had done wrong. You did nothing wrong. Then why didn't you choose me? She started crying. Because I was weak. The answer hit me harder than I expected. I was afraid, she continued. Every time Richard threatened to leave, I thought I'd lose everything. You already had. I know. You just didn't notice. She covered her face. I notice now. Before I could reply, someone knocked loudly on the front door. My mother froze. Her hands started shaking. Who is it? I know. She walked to the door. Two men stood outside wearing dark suits. One held a folder. Mrs. Carter, he asked. Yes. We're here regarding the unpaid debt. I need more time. You've already been given more time. I watched from the hallway. We're beginning legal action, the man said calmly. If payment isn't made, the house will be seized. My mother's shoulders dropped. I understand. They handed her several documents before leaving. She closed the door slowly. They're taking the house, she whispered. How much does Richard owe? More than I can ever repay. And where is he now? I honestly don't know. You haven't spoken to him? He stopped answering my calls months ago. I looked around the living room. The place that once felt too crowded now felt painfully empty. Jason knows about this. I asked. Yes. What did he say? She gave a sad smile. He said it wasn't his problem. And Lily? She told me I ruined her life. I couldn't believe it. They abandoned you. Yes. The same way you abandoned me. She nodded. I finally understand what that pain feels like. For the first time, I didn't see a villain sitting across from me. I saw a woman crushed by her own choices. That didn't erase my childhood. It didn't erase the nights I cried alone. It didn't erase the years she never called. But it changed something inside me. Hatred suddenly felt heavier than before. As I stood to leave, she reached into a drawer. Wait. She handed me an old envelope. I found this while cleaning. I looked at the faded handwriting. It was my father's. I never had the courage to give it to you. My hands trembled. You kept this from me? She nodded. I'm ashamed of that too. I slipped the unopened letter into my jacket. I'll read it when I'm ready. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. I don't deserve another chance. I opened the front door. No. She looked down. You don't. I paused for a moment before adding quietly. But I'm finally ready to hear the whole truth. I walked away holding my father's letter, knowing whatever was written inside would change my life once again. I didn't open my father's letter right away. Instead, I slipped it into my desk drawer and tried to focus on work. Emma noticed something was different. "You've been staring at that engine for 10 minutes, she said. "I've got a lot on my mind." "Your mother?" I looked up. "How did you know?" "You wear the same face every time something hurts." I smiled weakly. "I met her again." "And?" "Her life is falling apart." Emma stayed quiet for a moment. "Does that make you happy?" I thought carefully before answering. "I always believed it would." "But it doesn't." She nodded. "Because you're not like the people who hurt you." A few days later, Mr. Raymond knocked on my workshop door. "You've been hiding." "I've been busy." He smiled. "No. You've been thinking." I laughed softly. "Maybe both." He looked around my growing business. "You've done well." "I worked for every bit of it. And nobody can take that away." I nodded. "I know." He placed a hand on my shoulder. "Never build your future around someone else's downfall." His words stayed with me. The next week, my phone rang again. It was my mother. "Ethan." "What happened?" "They're here." "Who?" "The creditors." "I'll be there." When I arrived, several people were carrying furniture out of the house. One man checked items off a list. Another loaded boxes into a truck. My mother stood quietly on the porch. She looked completely defeated. "I never thought it would end like this," she whispered. I looked around. The house that had once replaced me was now almost empty. A neighbor walked past and whispered to another. "Such a shame. They looked like the perfect family. They fooled everyone." I almost laughed. Perfect. That word had destroyed my childhood. A loud voice interrupted my thoughts. "Mrs. Carter." A man in a suit approached. "You still owe money after today's collection." "I understand. We'll contact your solicitor." He walked away. My mother sat on the front steps. "I lost everything." I didn't answer. After a long silence, she asked, "Do you hate me?" I looked at her. "I hated what you did." "And now?" "I don't know." She nodded slowly. "That's more than I deserve." Just then, another car stopped nearby. Jason stepped out. He looked annoyed rather than concerned. "Mom." She stood hopefully. "You came." "I only came to pick up my things." She stared at him. "That's all?" "I've got my own life." She reached for his arm. "I need help." He gently pulled away. "I can't." "You can." "I won't." He grabbed 2 boxes and walked back toward his car. My mother called after him. "Jason." He never looked back. She started crying. I remembered another day. Another goodbye. Another person walking away. This time, it wasn't me. The following afternoon, Emma rushed into my workshop. "Have you heard about Lily?" "No." "Her fiancé left her." I looked surprised. "What happened?" "He found out she'd been lying about money." I leaned against the workbench. "So everyone finally sees the truth." Emma crossed her arms. "Funny how lies never stay hidden forever." That evening I visited Mr. Raymond. He poured 2 cups of tea. "You've been watching Karma at work." "I guess I have." "How does it feel?" "I expected victory." "And?" "It feels empty." He smiled gently. "Because revenge only feeds anger." "I never touched them." "You didn't have to." He pointed out the window. "Life is doing its own work." I stayed silent. "You have a choice now," he continued. "What choice?" "You can spend the rest of your life watching them fall." He paused. "Or keep climbing yourself." His words struck me harder than anything else. The next morning I signed the papers for a second repair shop. Emma looked at me with a huge smile. "You actually did it." I almost talked myself out of it. "I'm glad you didn't." She laughed. "I'm proud of you." "For what?" "For choosing your future instead of your past." Business grew faster than I expected. Customers recommended me to friends. Mechanics wanted to work with me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't surviving. I was living. One evening my mother called again. "I heard your business is doing well." "It is." "I'm happy for you." "Thank you." She hesitated. "I wish I had been there to see you become this man." "So do I." Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Finally she whispered, "I'm sorry, for everything." This time, her apology sounded real. I believed she meant every word. But forgiveness wasn't something I could hand over in a single conversation. Some wounds needed more time than apologies could heal. As I locked my workshop that night, I looked up at the sky and smiled. For years I had dreamed of seeing the people who hurt me lose everything. Now that it had happened, I understood something my younger self never could. Their downfall didn't build my happiness. My own hard work did. And for the first time since I left that house with one suitcase, I felt like my life truly belonged to me. 3 months passed after I opened my second repair shop. Business kept growing, but my relationship with my mother stayed the same. We spoke once every few weeks, and every conversation ended with an apology from her and silence from me. One afternoon, my phone rang while I was fixing a customer's car. It was an unfamiliar number. Hello? Is this Ethan Carter? Yes. My name is Dr. Harris. I'm calling about your mother. My heart tightened. What happened? She collapsed this morning. I dropped the wrench in my hand. Is she okay? She's stable, but she asked for you. I'll be there. I reached the hospital 20 minutes later. My mother looked weak as she lay in bed. When she saw me, tears filled her eyes. You came. I did. I didn't think you would. I almost didn't. She nodded. I wouldn't have blamed you. The doctor entered the room. She needs rest, he said. Stress has affected her health. She'll recover, but she can't manage everything alone. After he left, my mother looked away. I've become a burden. You've become sick. They're not the same. They're close enough. She gave a sad smile. I deserve this. I sighed. Stop saying that. It's true. It won't change the past. She wiped her eyes. I know. Later that evening, I stepped into the hallway. Emma had arrived after I texted her. How is she? She asked. She's scared. And you? I don't know what I am. She folded her arms. Still angry? Part of me. And the other part? It remembers the mother I had before everything changed. Emma stayed quiet. Finally, she asked, what are you going to do? I honestly don't know. That night I visited Mr. Raymond. He opened the door before I even knocked. I was expecting you. How? You only visit this late when your heart is heavy. I laughed softly. You're probably right. We sat on his balcony. After listening quietly, he asked, if you walk away now, will your pain disappear? No. If you help her, will your childhood return? No. So neither choice changes the past. I looked down. Then what matters? You. What do you mean? The kind of man you want to become. I didn't answer. He smiled gently. Don't make your decision because of who she was. Then why? Make it because of who you are. I barely slept that night. Every memory fought inside my head. I remembered waiting for my mother to call. I remembered leaving with one suitcase. I remembered every lonely birthday. But I also remembered the woman who held my hand after my father's funeral. The woman who worked endless hours to feed me. The woman she had been before fear changed her. The next morning, I returned to the hospital. My mother looked surprised. Ethan? I pulled a chair closer. I've made my decision. She held her breath. I'm going to help you. She started crying immediately. Why? Not because you've earned it. She covered her mouth. And not because I've forgotten. I understand. I'm helping you because I don't want hatred to decide my life anymore. She reached for my hand but stopped halfway. I don't deserve your kindness. Maybe not. I failed you. You did. I chose the wrong people. You did. I'll regret that until my last day. I looked into her eyes. I believe you. She cried even harder. I've prayed for this moment for years. This isn't forgiveness. I know. It's a chance. She nodded. I won't waste it. Over the next several weeks, I helped her move into a small apartment. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't the big house she once loved. But it was safe. One afternoon, as we unpacked boxes, she found an old photo of my father holding me as a little boy. She smiled through her tears. He would have been proud of you. I looked at the picture. I hope so. He would have been disappointed in me. I stayed silent. She placed the photo back into the box. I spent years trying to build the perfect family. She shook her head. I destroyed the only one that truly loved me. For the first time, I reached out and gently hugged her. She froze. Then she hugged me back. Neither of us spoke. Words weren't enough. When I stepped outside later that evening, my phone buzzed. It was Jason. I stared at his name for several seconds before answering. Ethan. What do you want? I heard you're helping Mom. I am. He laughed bitterly. You're better than I ever was. No. Then why are you doing it? Because someone has to. He didn't reply. Before hanging up, he quietly said, I owe you an apology too. As the call ended, I realized something important. Helping my mother hadn't made me weak. It had set me free. For the first time in my life, I wasn't carrying the weight of revenge. I was carrying something much lighter. Peace. A year passed faster than I expected. My mother grew stronger, but neither of us pretended the past had disappeared. One afternoon, we sat together in a small cafe. She smiled gently. Thank you for giving me another chance. I stirred my coffee. I gave you a chance to be honest. And I'll spend the rest of my life proving I deserve it. I nodded. That's enough for now. A few weeks later, I received news about Richard. Emma looked at me across my office. Did you hear? Hear what? He was arrested. I wasn't surprised. What happened? Fraud. The police finally caught up with him. I took a slow breath. So it finally ended. It did. Not long after that, Jason came to see me. He stood awkwardly outside my workshop. I don't expect you to forgive me, he said. I don't. I treated you terribly. You did. I thought Dad was always right. You made your own choices. He lowered his head. I know. He left without asking for anything, and somehow that felt like the first honest thing he had ever done. Lily called a month later. I'm sorry, she whispered. For what? For making you feel like you didn't belong. You did. I can't change it. No. I just wanted you to know I regret it. I wished her well before ending the call. That night, my mother looked at an old family photograph. We can never get those years back, she said quietly. No. I'll always regret that. I sat beside her. We don't have to erase the past. She looked at me. What do we do then? We build better memories. A small smile appeared on her face. I'd like that. As I drove home, I realized forgiveness had never meant forgetting. It meant refusing to let yesterday steal another tomorrow. Some wounds would always leave scars. But scars no longer controlled my life. For the first time, I wasn't looking behind me. I was finally looking ahead. Looking back, I no longer see myself as the boy who stood at the end of that street, waiting for his mother to call. I see someone who survived. Losing my family forced me to discover who I really was. Every difficult day taught me something that comfort never could. I learned that strength isn't built when life is easy. It's built when you have every reason to give up but choose to keep moving anyway. My repair business continued to grow, and so did the circle of people I trusted. Mr. Raymond became the grandfather I never had. Emma became the sister life chose for me. They stood beside me when I had nothing, and they never asked for anything in return. My mother remained part of my life, but our relationship was different now. It wasn't built on promises or guilt. It was built on honesty. We talked often, shared quiet meals, and remembered my father together. We could never recover the years we had lost, but we refused to waste the years we still had. One evening, my mother looked at me and smiled. I'm proud of the man you've become. For the first time in many years, I smiled back without pain. Thank you, Mom. As I walked home that night, I realized one simple truth. Blood may create relatives, but love, loyalty, and sacrifice create family. The phone call that once reopened my deepest wound had also changed my future forever. My mother once replaced me with another family. In the end, life taught both of us the same lesson. The family that truly matters is the one that never stops choosing you. And at last, I had found mine.